because mental illness isn't necessarily something we can always see. It causes people to live behind a mask. Since I was the older sibling and my mom was a single mom, I raised my brother in a lot of ways. And this is him at about 19 or 20. He was my brother, but he was also, like, I don't know, more than just a sibling. We had really good talks together. He was like always smarter than me, so he could always solve all my life problems. We're very, very close. His death happened very suddenly. When we found him in Emerge, the nurses said that he came in crying and frightened that someone was going to kill my mom and I. He was on suicide watch because he'd been expressing to the nurses that he was thinking about death, and unfortunately there was a gap of time where no one checked up on him, and he left the hospital through a service elevator, and by the time the police were called, he was already dead. It was a whole whack of emotions. Coming to terms with the fact that my sweet brother and dear friend and my mom's, just adored son could die this way is hard, because it's not a nice way to die.
When people discover that a family member has taken their life, it is, I use the example, it's like an explosion goes off and shrapnel hits everybody. It's a traumatic event. It's a trauma for the living. And they often can't make sense of it.
I think our assumption that he was always doing so well sort of blinded us. It wasn't really until retrospect that we looked like, okay, well maybe that was something we could have picked up on.
Normally when you have someone in their life, the family will say, well, I noticed a change about 6 months earlier. He's sleeping longer, he's not getting up. Signs of what I would say is depression or disorientation.
In retrospect, looking back, we're like, were things different about him? And it seemed like his diet changed, and he would say he was stressed a lot.
When many males report, I feel stressed, that's just an acceptable word for I'm dying inside. Some guys will come in and they're treated, they say, well, my wife made me come, otherwise she'd divorce me. I mean, there's always, I'm not here because I have any weakness, I'm here because, or my boss said if I don't do something, I'll get into trouble. Gendered male socialization is often why we don't get them early on. Most suicide in society is very contained and wrapped up in a lot of shame. There is some deep belief that if people end their lives, they have done something bad. How you break the narrative is you relanguage what ending one's life is. And notice I haven't said committing suicide. There's a belief now, we don't actually talk about committing because it's too close to a crime. I think that people end their lives rather than kill themselves. Because most of the people that I've seen pre-suicidal aren't in the place they say, I want to kill, I want to die. I want to get out and escape. At the end of the day, when people take their lives, in most cases, it has nothing to do with them being flawed or weak.
Understanding that it was a medical condition really helped. The nurses explained that it's like he had had a heart attack in the brain. So the brain had undergone this sort of explosion of chemistry that was very imbalanced and causing him to see the world in an unrealistic way.
I really respect Jessica giving her story. She's educating us. I would tell people, look, read her story, that sometimes we think everything's fine, but maybe we should just ask a question a bit earlier. When you say you're stressed, what are you really feeling?
I would hope that someone looking at this would take away that even though mental illness can have tragic endings, it's the life that they lived that matters, not the way they died.